23andMe, which I believe the CEO of that company was Susan Wojcicki's sister or relative, I think.
Yes.
It has collapsed due to a complete drop off in any interest whatsoever.
It's because they already got the DNA from everyone that was stupid enough to use it.
Yeah.
It was a government op.
Sorry if you did it in chat, but Styx is 1,000% correct. It was a government op to collect your DNA. That's just a fact. I mean, didn't they also suffer a massive breach? Like,
yeah,
I think
they
also
have multiple times.
That?
I thought.
What was that other site? It wasn't genetic related, but Ashley Madison. I think
that was
the cheating on your wife
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they suffered a breach, and then genetic sites. So basically, the government now knows how you want to screw. It knows your genetics. It has all of your health information because people are signing up for apps where they literally upload that. You're pretty much handing them everything on a silver platter. Is this really a good idea?
Well, people kind of put it together, didn't they? Like, I believe that they also got caught selling private data.
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe they did. This is 23andMe files for bankruptcy as California Attorney General urges customers to delete their data.
Like that'll matter.
Like that matters. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you talking about? It's like
I think they just want to turn around and be able to be like, well, you didn't delete your data when we told you to, so we're not responsible.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just to cover themselves.
They 100%, all this data is already in China. They have your DNA, they have your, you're getting clones. It was so hilarious, and everyone was like, ooh, I'm 127th Chippewa. Like, okay, cool, but now China has your DNA. Like,
I'm glad that I never used one of these genetic sites.
Yeah,
now there won't be any clonal Styx Hexenhammers unless I finance them myself.
Yeah, which is also a fine investment. I think the world needs more of you. I think that like this is, 23andMe's saliva-based kits have been helping customers learn about their ancestry since 2006. News of the move raised concerns about how the personal data of millions of 23andMe customers will be handled. It's already been leaked. Like the company has
already got it. What
are you worried about?
Have you been complaining at this point?
I don't know. Like, I'm almost certain. Let me look. I'm almost 23andMe leak. Yeah, hackers got 7 million people's DNA data. The firm blamed users. Like, what? I mean,
why are you bankrupt? Let's ask that. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Like 3 years ago, a man in Florida named JL decided on a whim to send a tube of his spit to the genetic testing site 23andMe in exchange for an ancestry report. Like millions of other 23andMe participants before him, he said he was often asked about his ethnicity and craved a deeper insight into his identity. Who cares? JL said he didn't think much of the results until he learned of a huge breach at the company that exposed the data of 7 million people, about half of the customer's entire customer base. Worse than that, he learned of a hacker going by the pseudonym Gollum who had offered to sell the names, addresses, and genetic heritage reportedly belonging to 1 million 23andMe customers with similar Ashkenazi Jewish heritage on the shadowy dark web forum. Suddenly, JL worried about his own flippant decision. Wait, so they specifically did it to sell Jews data? Like,
and it's always 6 or 7 million.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out there's
some people think that number's not true, but I think it's
just making an observation though.
We're just asking questions here. This is crazy. You also see the company went public in 2021, had a value of $3.5 billion, and now is worth only $300 million, a decline of 91%. And this, by the way, was over a year ago. The current value of the stock is 50 cents. Like I think that people got wise to where their data was going.
Mhm.
But also like you only have so many people that are willing to put their spit in the mail. Like I don't think that this company had any kind of huge bright future. I think it was always going to be this way. It was
Well, it
always
was
going to
always
end this
meant to
way.
be that way because it was a government psyop. The
Right.
whole goal was just to gather genetic data for testing purposes and for ethnic purposes and stuff like that. It was never meant to do anything further than that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
now they can retire the company. The government artificially inflates the price, reabsorbs it, and then basically casts it aside.
You're right. Somebody asked, is the coffee in the Founders Pack whole bean or ground? The Founders Pack is ground. But for the new bundles, people wanted to be able to choose so they can choose. Yeah, it's Styx is 100% right. This company was never about making money. It was just about collecting data. They have the literal DNA of millions and millions of Americans. And now China does too, and the dark web does too, and the American government probably also does too. The whole thing is like was and is a bizarre op to just marketing agencies probably have this data. What do you make of like now that they're just going to shutter? Do you think we're going to see any more of this? You think that this is just the death of the spit in a cup and send it in for testing?
Well, there are still other genetic testing companies, and they're probably government ops as well. At least some of them. This was the big one. There was a reason why this one really shot out of the cannon ahead of all of the others.
Oh, what do you think that is, Styx?
And that's because they had government funding. And people who were unwise went with them. A huge amount of money is made. A huge amount of genetic data is tested for and documented. Unfortunately, if you used any of these companies and didn't use a pseudonym, they've got your stuff.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important to note that it's not the only one. Like 23andMe was sort of the most popular. There are a lot of reasons for that. Marketing is part of it. Also, just generally government involvement, subsidies, whatever. But I know that Ancestry.com, which also has a genetic testing component, it sort of became known as the way to discover if your parents were actually your parents.
Yes.
Some of that is like the stories of sperm donors, or not sperm donors, but like fertility doctors who use their own sperm to inseminate
Remember
women.
those stories coming out where like
They're
one doctor
still
sired like 300 babies?
Yes, and he didn't tell the parents. I mean, sometimes the parents knew they were using donor sperm. A lot of times they didn't. There are also like all of the people who are finding each other or their relatives through donor sperm because of, again, it's a lot of times it's Ancestry.com is the one that reveals this, or like people who found out they were switched at birth or stuff like that. So I think that in addition to sort of oversaturation in the market, or anyone who was willing to do it has kind of done it by now. This is like Peloton's big issue during the pandemic, right?
Yep.
They sold tons of Pelotons, and then they kind of capped out, and then people started going back to work or the gym. I think that the relationship that people have to knowing stuff about their ancestry is sort of changing. Instead of it being like, oh, I was curious to see if I was Polish or, whatever, it's really shifting into I am trying to prove that there's not a genetic tie to my family members, or to find a family member that I don't have access to because I was adopted or conceived through donor material or whatever. And that is actually making other people less interested in signing up for it, right? If you don't want to get caught, you don't want to be on one of these sites.
Or you're trying to find out whether the person that you're dating is one of your relatives. That might be a problem in certain areas.
I mean, isn't this an app already in Iceland? Because Iceland only has Iceland has like 400,000 people.
Yep.
And so there's literally an app to see if like you are related to the person you are set up on a date with.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, or if
you're my cousin?
Second cousin. But I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but didn't they catch a serial killer using 23andMe? Yeah, right. Yeah, that was bizarre.
The whole existence of it is bizarre. It reminds me of Facebook, because people have always said like Facebook was originally incepted as a CIA op. I'm beginning to think that that's actually the case. And
Yeah.
the 23andMe thing and some of these other genetic testing sites, it just always seemed creepy to me, because it's like, I want to give you my genetic material in the mail. Does this really make sense?
No, yeah. I'm gonna go to the comments. Yeah, I think Hannah, the Golden State Killer, right? That's who
Yeah,
they
Golden
got.
State Killer. Again, I don't know if it was. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was 23andMe or a different site,
It was
but
one
it
of
was
these
like
ancestry sites.
an ancestry site a relative had signed up for.
Yeah, it was wild.